What are the surprising historical origins of regression in statistics? Imagine a time when scientists and mathematicians were trying to understand why some traits or measurements seem to cluster around certain values. The story of regression begins with a man named Sir Francis Galton in the late 1800s. He was studying hereditary traits like height and noticed something interesting. When tall parents had children, those children were often tall but not as tall as their parents. Conversely, very short parents tended to have children who were a bit taller. This pattern is what Galton called regression toward the mean. It was a surprising idea because it suggested that extreme traits tend to become less extreme over generations. Galton's observation was not just about biology. It was the first time someone linked a natural pattern to a way of analyzing data. Before him, mathematicians like Carl Friedrich Gauss and Adrien Marie Legendre had already created a method called least squares. This method helps fit a line to data points by minimizing the squared differences between the actual data and the line. Gauss used this in astronomy to predict planetary orbits, which was a practical application of the idea. Interestingly, Gauss thought the method was so obvious that he hesitated to publish it, leading to a famous dispute over who discovered it first. Galton took the mathematical tool and applied it to biological and social data. His idea was that if you know one trait, like the height of parents, you could predict the height of their children. But more importantly, he noticed that extreme values tend to move closer to the average over time. This was the start of what we now call regression analysis. Later, Carl Pearson expanded on Galton's work by formalizing the concepts of correlation and regression, creating the foundation for modern statistical methods. Understanding this history helps us see why regression analysis is so important in data analysis today. When we use Python libraries like Pandas, NumPy, and StatsModel to perform regression, we are building on ideas that started over 100 years ago. These tools let us model relationships between variables, make predictions, and understand patterns in data. So, the next time you run a regression in Python, remember that it all traces back to a curious scientist observing how traits tend to revert to the average over generations. This fascinating history shows how a simple biological observation led to a powerful statistical technique used worldwide.